Yashala, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Ahad, Shemai, Yashala, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Ahad, Shemai, Yashala, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Ahad, Barakah Yahweh, Barakah Yahweh Shai, Barakah Yahweh, Barakah Yahweh Shai, Barakah Yahweh, Barakah Yahweh Shai, Bahasara Chahakadash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone. We well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. I was a high spirit wind lawyer. All right, today I want to go into a lesson expounding on Isaiah 3 and 12. As for my people, children are their oppressors and women rule over them. All right. So who are the children? All right. Esau, all right, because they came out of a dark nation. And if you look up children, it really goes into someone who's of less dignity, all right, less in stature as far as character and morals. Okay, so they're like indignant in character. They're indignant in character. All right, shalom, shalom. All right, shalom, shalom. All right. So what do we have ruling over the Israelite man? And by Israelite, I mean the so-called Black, Hispanic, Latino, and Native American man. What do we have ruling over them? You have Edomite supremacy, and you also have the matriarch. We're going back into children are the oppressors. Children is a description of a race of people, a nation of people who are less dignified than us, all right, less morally adequate than us, all right. As it says, the righteous are more excellent than his neighbor, and we're more excellent than Esau, Edom, my neighbor. All right, it tells you that basically it's a shame to have a man who rules over you to be inferior to you. So we have a system, all right, that puts us at the bottom systemically. It's Edomite supremacy. Now, not only is it systemically, all right, it's also political, all right, also religiously, all right. Christianity is a religion of Edomite supremacy, so-called white supremacy, but that's the religion that rules over the so-called Black, Hispanic, Latino, and Native American mind, all right. So it's psychological warfare. It's a form of mind control. It's a form of mind control. It's a form of mind control. And if you're around Jake, because I work with different Jakes, Jake will show you a certain aggression that he would not show Esau, Edom. All right. And Jake will come at you with that hoorah, but he ain't gonna come at, especially like a supervisor. He doesn't come at Esau, Edom with that hoorah. All right. And conversely, I noticed that a lot of Edomites who are not professional, at least in the South, they tend to think they have to dominate you. All right. They tend to think they have, hey, you type thing, you know, because they have a superiority mindset towards Jake, a superior mindset towards Jake. All right. So, I mean, going back to the topic at hand, the so-called Black, Hispanic, Latino, and Native American man, the Israelites, we're in that sunken place. Jordan Peele made a movie called Get Out, and he showed a movie that was pretty much, you could pretty much assume, you know, you pretty much surmise that it was going into the so-called black man in America. That's why the camera showed a scene, showed the clip of a lion. All right, you're that lion in the laboratory, man. We're the lion in the laboratory. We're his Frankenstein, and we've been socially engineered. But social engineered is really programmed. We've been programmed under Edomite supremacy. All right, through systemic oppression, through black culture. Black culture in reality is just social engineering. It's cultural engineering. It's cultural engineering. And culture goes back to cultivate, to develop the mind. So our minds have been developed through so-called black culture. And I can attest to it because I remember thinking like the way T.I. moved, that was the way you should move. And I know a lot of Jakes felt like the way Tupac moved, that's how you should move. The way DMX moved, that's how you should move. All right, but these are archetypes. These are actors that played a role in which we were to, they played a role All right, they wanted us to imitate. The Esau Edom wanted us to imitate, because who created the music industry, who engineered, who controls the music industry. So these are role models. They are modeling a role in which we were programmed to imitate. That's why they actually killed leaders in the 60s. And they had the COINTELPRO, and they replaced our leaders with entertainers. Those were the new messiahs. All right, as it says in the scriptures, all right, they have put a net before me. This is in Psalms, and I'm roughly paraphrasing. But if you look at that word net, it goes into leaders that set up to cause people to go astray. So aside from the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons and these different speakers, the other leaders are really entertainers. And Dick Gregory once said that, like, the so-called black race, all right, the so-called black race, hey, shalom, shalom. The so-called black race is the only race where our leaders are entertainers, and that's on purpose. That's strategically so. All right. So part of our mind control IQ is unplugging from so-called black culture, because that's the Frankenstein, that's the MK Ultra, and like I said, not just black culture in the sense of the urban way, but that food, that's laboratory food, Church's Chicken, Popeyes, all those things, man. That's lab food, man. Processed food. There's a correlation between processed food and violence in the hood, in low-income communities. So this is lab food, man. All right? And Esau Edom does exactly what a hunter does. He sets traps out in private. He puts traps out in the woods, and he camouflages the traps. So black culture is a camouflage trap, man. Liquor stores, Lucy's, these schools is really like camouflaging traps, man. Because the school is nothing but a pipeline to the prison industrial complex. The hospital is a pipeline to death. The standard American diet is a pipeline to the hospital, and the hospital is a pipeline to dependency on the pills, and the pills is ultimately a pipeline to the graveyard, man. As for my people, there's not their oppressors. But it also goes on to say, and women rule over them. And the women ruling over us is really a matriarch ruling over us, man. And that too has our mind. In the words of J. Cole, we were raised by mothers, we have to heal. We was raised by mothers, we have to heal, man. Okay? And that's reality, man. All right? Even in this truth, man, we have, they call it shadow work, where you actually work on your underlying issues that you might not even know existed, but it sort of dictates your behavior and your reaction to situations. And a lot of us have underlying issues due to being raised in a matriarch. Even if you have a dad, the overall energy in your environment may have been more of a matriarch than a patriarch. And that's for the most of us, man. And it's hard for a man to be a leader in his household and look at a woman like she's really under him if he was raised by a mother who was the leader, man. He was raised in all that feminine energy. You know? And that's not to say you're an alphabet gang. That's not to say you're feminine in your mannerisms. But psychologically, you might not be dominant. I've realized that, you know, psychologically, you might be dominant. And even within in a Jake environments, Jake that may have that psychological dominance over Eve, he might not have that work ethic to go out and make money. You know, he might not have that work ethic to go out and make money. So he might not be a man in that aspect. So he could go out and, you know, have that grit about him to where he could keep a job and keep some type of stability. He might not have that grit, but he might have that psychological dominance over Eve, but he might not be able to go out and get that money legally, you see? But Jake that might not have that structure, Jake that may have that structure by himself, all right? At least in a nigga world, you might get the tail end of Eve, or you might be slick, you know, get blindsided by Eve. You know what I mean? Like, he might not have that dominance like that, you know? But I think it's all rooted in being raised in a matriarch, man. And Jake's leadership and Jake's dominance has been demonized through Esau's media, which the media is like a wand like a magic wand over your mind. So you have movies like Color Purple, which demonize this so-called black male leadership. All right, it's like a magic wand. You have these Tyler Perry movies, these Tyler Perry plays, going back to 2003. I think this when he first really came out, around 2003. All right, and they always demonize specifically that dark-skinned so-called black man. I bark like a dog. All right, but Tyler Perry was put up, man. He was put up to further destroy Jake leadership, and it was right in alignment with the really the feminist movement, the so-called black feminist movement, because Black Lives Matter is just a covert feminist movement, but the goal of the leadership, how black man is not important, and you know he's not the topic at hand, but you are the topic at hand. But he act like the attention is not on you like that. Like he ain't really, you know, you're not significant enough to be talked about. But behind closed doors, he's constantly working and working. That first of all, keep you out of tune with the Most High, but to keep you out of any type of power, man. But he'll sit there and act like, you know, and I noticed modern women do that. A modern woman might sit there and act like she ain't tripping over you or she ain't really into you, but behind closed doors is like, is he gonna call me? You know, that's how Esau moves. Like he'll act like nobody tripping over the so-called black man. He ain't important, but behind closed doors, they got all these meetings to further our overthrow. Like I hope he falls for the okie doke. I hope he falls for the narrative that he's not important. You know? Because they know who you are in the history book. And the history book is the Bible. You see? But the reality of the topic at hand is that in this truth, you have to really overthrow within your mind Edomite supremacy. You have to really, not overthrow, you have to overcome it. We're here to overcome, man. And if you break this shit down, you're here to overcome Edomite supremacy in your mind. And you're here to overcome the matriarch. We're here to overthrow obstacles in our mind. Overcoming your flesh is not just overcoming your sex drive, man. All right, overcoming your flesh is overcoming the obstacles that's in your mind. That's what the Matrix is about. The Matrix is about Neo overcoming the obstacles in his mind to overcome the Matrix. All right. Yeah, you're the lion in the laboratory. They have to take these plugs off of your brain. These plugs, these wires is attached to your brain. All right, that killed that lion in you. It tells you Judah was like a lion's whelp. Then it says, "Old lion, who shall rouse him up?" So now we're detaching from Edomite supremacy. We're detaching from the matriarch, because those are two high-level forms of sorceries that emasculates and de-lions Judah. It de-lions the lion. You have to remember, Simba was amongst those unclean animals, all right, eating worms and shit. But he was under that Roman and Babylonian state of mind where it was just YOLO. It was just no rules. Mufasa told him, remember who you are. See, this thing in America is a psychological tactic to keep your mind small. You remember the Willie Lynch letter. What was the gist of the Willie Lynch letter? The gist of the Willie Lynch letter is to keep him physically strong but psychologically weak. The main thing was to keep him away from his own history book, which is the Word. To keep him from his mirror. What's the mirror? Remember who you are. The mirror is the Word. So he can't see who he is. So even if he looks at the mirror, which is the Word, he looks at it through a distorted lens called Christianity. So when he look in the mirror and he see Yahushua, he really see Crispus Serapis, so-called white man. When he see Moses, he really sees Charles Hester. You see that psychological tactic? Because when you implant a picture in someone's mind, that picture never leaves. And Esau Edom knows that. That's why he used his wand his sorcery, the media. As for my people, children are their oppressors and women rule over them. All right. We have to overcome Edomite supremacy. We have to overcome what was I going to say? We got to overcome Edomite supremacy. We got to overcome the matriarch, because that same loving, nurturing energy that our woman gave us, it really weaponized us. It really was a weapon against us. So we love our mothers and we honor our mothers and we take care of our mothers. But we have to understand that feminine that we was raised under was really weaponized against us. Being raised in the feminine, because it was a war tactic to keep us psychologically weak. You see? It was a war tactic to keep us psychologically weak. So now we have to go on this journey, this manhood journey, all right, to really understand our competence and understand our value. And that's why, like, I push to the brothers in my camp to challenge yourself. Challenge yourself. If you don't know how to change a tire, learn how to change a tire, because that's part of unplugging, believe it or not, from the matriarch. The matriarch doesn't develop you into a leader. It doesn't develop you into a competent man. You know, like, it's certain things that we fear because it's outside our comfort zone. Like, let's start challenging ourselves to overcome these comfort zones in our minds, because the growth is outside of your comfort zone. You know, because we have to heal the lion because they killed the lion. You see, going back to the movie The Wizard of Oz, the lion was without courage. The lion was without courage. Who does that remind you of? It reminds you of the nation of Israel. All right. The lion is without courage because it tells you that wound is grievous. We've been discouraged because we were defeated in captivity. You see? And once again, once you raise in a matriarch, that doesn't produce alpha males. It doesn't produce dominant men. You can say what you want to say, but being raised in a matriarch does not produce dominant men. It does not, on average, produce men who have a building mindset. If anything, Esau Edom, he uses the matriarch to produce athletes that gonna play in his arena. You know, it produces workers like myself just going to work, but it doesn't really produce men who have a mindset to take a bunch of acres of land and work together and build their own districts. Now, we're not here to do that in America. We understand that, but that's the nature of a man. The nature of a man is to build. I heard this one panderer say that women are nourishers and men are destroyers. No, nigga, men are builders. Men are builders, man. So what I've noticed about this matriarch that we were raised under, it turns Jake into entertainers, to athletes and workers. Entertainers, athletes, workers, and losers. So either you're gonna fall off the grid, fall off the wayside, and be a low life, a loser, somebody that's dependent on some female for your survival, or you're gonna be a worker. All right, you might be a thug, you might be an entertainer, you might be an athlete, but you're not a builder. All right, and they create the Edomite supremacy in the matriarch, Isaiah 3:12. It creates a sub race. It creates a race, a sub race that creates this reality that we can't build like the other nations. You see, like, they have their towns and their districts, but we're not capable of doing that. You see, and that's part of the sunken place. That's part of the sorcery, and there is sorcery in America. There is psychological tactics, all right, that just psychologically and ultimately physically kill the Israelite man. It's all about the Israelite man. Why do you think Esau puts Lil Nas X on the fucking pedestal? In one breath, they hate toxic. They call something, being a man is toxic. They put Lil Nas X on the pedestal because that's his ideal so-called black man. You know, it's just like a lion in the zoo. He wants you to be a friendly lion. The zookeepers, what do they do? They're like them friendly lions. If we take these cubs and raise them from birth, and instead of the mama feeding them, we feed them. you know, and they're friendly lions, and they grow to be big ass, what's that, 5, 6, 700 pound lions, and they friendly as hell to the zookeeper. That's the sucking place, man. And we gotta, we gotta be friendly. We gotta be wise as a serpent. We can't come to work all mean and shit, to our supervisors and shit, But you understand, like, we've been psychologically defeated. So now we gotta go in this journey, and this truth is not just about reading the word on highways and byways and calling Esau Edom the devil. It's really about healing, man. All right? The 90%, it's about, of course, fighting the good fight of faith and healing and learning how being in this kingdom has affected you. But with that, I'm going to bring this lesson to a closing. With that, I hope you brothers and sisters were edified. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, B'Hashem HaMashai, B'Hashem HaKodash. I also want to give double honor to our elder apostles and elder bishops of great ministry well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Abba, Abba, come here, Shalom, Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.